We are doing Extra Life again this year, where you can mash buttons, roll dice, play games, and help kids along the way. I hope you'll be a part of that with us. Stick around after the video for more information. Well, my editing skills are crap, but can the same thing be said about Coherence? Stick around and find out! Alright, I've been leaning on the X-Files theme, I think, a little too much in recent years, but that's the closest thing I can come up with for this. Anyway, I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. This is my uncut review of a little indie movie called Coherence. Came out in 2013, and you probably have never heard of this one, but it became a blip on my radar a little while ago when I noticed it came to Amazon Prime a number of months ago, and I kept telling myself I would get around to it, and I finally did. The synopsis on IMDb reads, "On the night of an astronomical anomaly, 8 friends at a dinner party experience a troubling chain of reality-bending events." This is a sci-fi drama with some suspense in it. It's very grounded. It's shot in a pseudo-documentary style. It's not supposed to be a documentary, but the way the camera operates and the way things are cut together, it has that documentary feel to it. And that's, again, not to try and... It's not a faux documentary, but I think it's meant to ground the movie and make you feel like you are a fly on the wall, or just a person that's there, maybe even operating your own camera or something. I don't know what the thinking is there, but it, in some almost subconscious way, it helps to ground the whole thing and make it seem more pedestrian and real, which serves the sci-fi concepts well. The dialogue is also either highly improvised, it strikes me as highly improvised, or just performed in a way that gives the actors freedom to be constantly overlapping each other's lines. Sometimes everyone's talking at once. It's kind of a dinner party environment, and it's a group of people that are together throughout the whole movie, basically. And so I'm sure it's very intentional, because even though a number of lines are spoken by actors throughout the movie that you just completely miss because they're overlapped by someone else, or they're indistinct and not picked up as well as they would be in another movie by the microphone, all of that, though, I must be intentional, because I never felt lost. Whenever there was a line that was important for me to pick up on, then it would surface at the moments when no other actors were talking. So it struck me as quite the feat of improvisational filmmaking and or editing in post-production to really make sure that all the important lines surfaced while everything else was allowed to just be overlapped and just make you feel like you really are witnessing this organic party environment with these friends. It requires attentive viewing. I think it's not the kind of movie that I would be able to watch while playing a video game or something. I really needed to give it my full attention, but it's not hard to understand the concepts. They do get into some wild sci-fi stuff for sure, but they put it in layman's terms, and so it requires attentiveness in terms of engaging with the characters in the story, because there are visual performance elements that if you're just listening to the dialogue you would miss out on, which I always appreciate when storytelling leans on actor performances, leans on subtext and not merely what the actual spoken words are. And so I appreciate those elements of this movie. And it also uses character relationships and conflict within those relationships to in the setting of a very stressful and increasingly strange circumstances, to really bring out the drama. So it had a lot of elements that I really like in movies. As far as the performers go, there was just one familiar face to me, I think. There was another guy I was like, have I seen him somewhere? I don't know. But Elizabeth Grayson was easily the most familiar face, and you might recognize her as the character Raven, or I don't know if that was her name, but the series, the Highlander Raven series, was named after her. She was a recurring guest character in the Highlander TV show all those years ago, and she is one of the members of the ensemble cast. It's not a movie that focuses on her. In fact, if anything, it focuses on a different character eventually at some point. But But yeah, so it's a lot of unfamiliar faces, and I really appreciate that. It helps me to, especially when the performances are good, as I felt they were in this movie. It helps me to even more engage with the story and enter into the suspension of disbelief. And all of the actors they struck me as very solid in this, and they seem to all take very well to the improvised style. The deliveries felt very organic and very undelivered. So I was really happy with how they just played to the strengths of this indie budget here. And on that topic a little bit more, there's almost no visual effects, maybe one. I'd have to watch again. Maybe they did it with clever camera cuts, but I think there was a visual effect at one point in the movie. But it effectively still deals with these wild sci-fi concepts. And in fact, I think the lack of visual effects helps sell the second-guessing nature of what is happening. You know, sometimes you'll be in a situation and something weird happens, and you'll be like, did my brain just kind of like fire off a weird synapse and I didn't actually see what I thought I saw, you know? And so I think the fact that there are no like blatant visual effects helps to sell what the characters themselves are experiencing, like, is something weird actually happening right now, or should we not be thinking that? Is everything just normal? And I just got confused for a second there. So I think that the lack of budget serves the type of story that they're telling. This movie's just a great example of having a shoestring budget and then playing up all the strengths that can still come with those limitations. Now, as far as themes, is there anything of moral, philosophical, or spiritual significance going on in the themes of this thing that might trigger some worthwhile thought or conversation? Well, Schrodinger's cat and quantum physics are brought up as crucial to the story. If you're not familiar with Schrodinger's cat, they explain what the concept is in the movie, so I won't get into it here, but having an awareness, I think, as a believer of the many worlds hypothesis or the multiverse hypothesis, I think is useful as we are engaging either personally or just through entertainment or through online content creators and stuff that might talk about the many worlds or the multiverse hypothesis. I think it's good to have an awareness of what those ideas are because they are leveraged. You know, the multiverse or quantum mechanics is thrown around quite a lot without really getting into the nitty-gritty, as would be valuable to do. That phrase is thrown around to justify the multiverse, to justify elements of disbelief in God. And so I think just having an acquaintance with those concepts is useful. ReasonableFaith.org, by the way, is a great resource for learning more about those kinds of positions and the logical problems and the overreaching assumptions that are made by them. But otherwise, you know, I think the multiverse is just good fodder for fun and imaginative sci-fi. You get to explore concepts that are related to real-world choices, real-world dilemmas that we have, but they get to be explored in this fantastical way through concepts like time travel and the multiverse and stuff like that. So, I think that most of the time it's just good fun. So, as far as like, no, I think that's all I had to say. I have no idea what your tastes are in movies, but if I were a time traveler, I'd go back in time and say, Peter, watch this one. You know, it's on Amazon Prime. You've got Amazon Prime already, so you're not paying any extra to watch it. But even if you did have to pay to Redbox this one, it's still worth watching. It's going to give you a good evening of engaging science fiction that you're going to enjoy. It's not one that you need to own and not one that you need to watch more than once, but put it on your list of movies to watch and know that the indie budget that you see in the promo, even though it looks very budget in the trailer for it, just know going in, the lack of effects, they play to the strengths of the budget here, and the lack of effects and all those other things just make the experience stronger. This one is not rated. I would describe it as being R in terms of language, PG-13 or PG in terms of violence, and then PG for just like some sexual themes that the characters talk about. So, really enjoyed this experience. Those are my thoughts. I'd love to get yours in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, click that notification bell. Anything you want to do to share this content or stay connected to it, I would really be grateful for. I want to thank the Spirit Blade Insiders for continuing to make all of my work possible. You can get more information about the benefits of joining over at patreon.com/Spirit Blade Productions. And then, of course, I hope you'll join us soon over at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. It is time for Extra Life again, and I'd love for you to be a part of it with me. Here's a recycled but slightly modified promo to tell you more. Once again this year, Christian Geek Central is participating in Extra Life. This is a charity that raises funds for the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals, which provides free medical care to children whose families could otherwise not afford it. And this is very often for critical, life-saving treatment. Joining our team only requires a willingness to ask your family and friends to consider donating toward your fundraising efforts. Participants also usually do something fun and game-related to draw attention to their fundraising efforts, like a special game night at your home or your church, or like me, you could do a crazy 24-hour video gaming marathon. Now, I'm theming it around video games, but really this event can be themed around any kind of gaming, which includes both video games and tabletop games of any kind. What you do to raise funds is entirely up to you, but I would love for you to consider joining the Christian Geek Central Extra Life team. As team leader, I'll be there to help answer your questions, provide some helpful tips if I can, and just in general be your fundraising cheerleader and try to draw attention myself to your fundraising efforts. You can get more information about the event as a whole at extra-life.org, and if you choose to sign up there, be sure to select Christian Geek Central as your team so I can get in touch with you and then just help in whatever way I can. Fundraising can begin at any time, but our main push is going to be through the month of October leading up to November 7th. That's the annual Extra Life Game Day, when I'll be streaming my 24-hour video gaming marathon live and trying to stay awake without throwing up. More details on my live stream as we get closer to it. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.